एकम् अक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्। हृदयकुहर मध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् अहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वम् चिन्वता मज्जता आत्मनिष्ठो भव। देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तत भावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव ओहं भावयुत कुतो वरभिः दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं। Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to read two verses selected for us from the work Guruvachaka Kovai by Muruganar Swamigal. Each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that shall be followed by the practice of Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. After these two segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and the practice of self-enquiry are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Shri Venkatesh Deshpande ji. Today the puja team is out of town, so we'll be having the chanting online by Vaibhavji and Pratnama. Probably it's Vaibhavji alone today as Pratnama is facing her exams. And we will accompany them in self-attention as to who is listening to the Ashtotram chanting. Let us commence the evening satsang by going to the first verse selected for us, verse number 7. This we find in the prefatory verses. There are about 13 prefatory verses, introductory, and then there are the three main segments of investigation into truth, meditation on the truth, and experience of the truth. Verse number 7 we find in prefatory, the introductory verses. It comes under the subheading name of the work and its origin. Name of the work Guruvachaka Kove and its origin. Verse number 7. Ramana, Guru and God caused clear understanding to arise in me by destroying the veiling, the rising ego sense. Ramana, Guru and God. Ramana, who is Guru and God, caused clear understanding to arise in me by destroying the veiling, the rising ego sense. I shall now relate the teachings on the supreme truth that I discovered through the perspective of grace granted by him, and I shall string them together as a garland. Ramana, Guru and God caused clear understanding to arise in me by destroying the veiling, the rising ego sense. I shall now relate, Muruganar Swamigal is saying, I shall now relate the teachings on the supreme truth that I discovered through the perspective of grace granted by him, and I shall string them together as a garland. So this has Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, all put together in one verse. How the this work was composed as a flower garland or a garland made of Rudraksha beads are strung together. Muruganar Swamigal has strung together these verses which are on the teachings on the supreme truth. Whatever the supreme truth is, these are about that. But what allowed him to have the perspective? It is, of course, commented by Bhagavan to a wandering mark. In the first talk itself, in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, when the monk asks how to see the supreme truth in everything that we see, and Bhagavan says, Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pashyet Brahmamayam Jagat. If you purify your sense of perception from the gross to the subtle, to removing the causality, to make it absolutely pure, then that perception allows one to see the truth as it is. In fact, that perception itself is the truth, is the endless I, says Bhagavan. Then Muruganar Swamigal has beautifully composed the verse from a prayerful attitude where this world is there and we are denizens of this world as a jiva stuck. How Ramana as Guru is standing by our side. He is both God and Guru, and also he is the supreme light of truth. Now, how is all that possible? That the one and the same thing is the guy standing as a caught up jiva praying desperately for whatever troubles he is perceiving. He's also the guru who is standing by the side and helping. It's also the motive force inside which makes them seek the truth. He is also the clear perspective that allows you to see the truth, and is also the truth itself. So how can all this be possible simultaneously? That is explained by the traditionalists in a very simple way. How all that is possible for one and the same thing to be the struggling guy who is one in trillions, caught up tremendously, bodily, mentally, emotionally, is also the guru who has taken birth 1879, is landed up and is constantly working for the uplift of the Sishyas. That is what Muruganar is saying here, that is God and Guru is also the motive force, the God within, who is teaching the Jiva, oh, you are not the one who is caught up in all this. Inquire, what is your truth? That motive force which is there within each one of us. And also the supreme truth beyond this game of Jiva, Guru, string of verses on truth, then the power that is permeating all this, and beyond that power, the self. All this, how it is possible, it is explained in a simple example by the traditional spiritualists. What they do is, they take the three dimensions that we have, the length, breadth and height that we have. All that we see is made of these three dimensions that we see with the eyes. It's made of objects that occupy length, breadth and height. If you take only one of those dimensions, either length or breadth, or let's say only height, only one of those dimensions, then you will get a line segment. Only one single line will get. If you take two of those dimensions, any two, length and breadth, length and height, breadth and height, any of those two if you take, then you get the figures like squares, circles, triangles. What are these figures made of? The two-dimensional figure like circle or square is made of many line segments. The line segments combined in the particular way, which way is not available in the singular dimension, is what makes it two-dimensional. That is, the square is made up of outwardly four lines, but if you go inside, then it is made up of a lot of lines which join together at 90 degrees to the previous plane and make that square, the two-dimensional one. What is the three-dimensional cube? It is having 6 squares. 6 squares joined together on the outer to trap a cuboidal figure. Now within that there are many squares. If you go in, that means the three-dimensional area contains the two-dimensional existence. That means the whole of two-dimension is present and it's combined in such a way that some higher dimension is present. So therefore, in the highest of dimension, all the earlier dimensions are simultaneously present and you can see what you are capable of seeing. Because the supreme truth is present as it is, beyond all dimensions. In that, just like as in the cube, the squares are present, just as in the square, many line segments are present, in that highest dimension of supreme truth, beyond all dimensions, all the earlier dimensions are present in that singular being. It is a single being. The cube is a single being in which two-dimension and single-dimension figures are automatically there. So it is cube is a three-dimensional being in which it is three-dimensional, two-dimensional and single-dimensional. Similarly, in the highest being, all the earlier dimensions, like the God who empowers the whole world, gives the motive force, hey, go and seek the truth, don't be trapped like this. The Guru who comes, takes a form and comes and gives instructions, teaches us self-enquiry, makes us, what is self-enquiry but a prayer for being one with the Supreme Truth. He's sitting by our side and is praying on our behalf. That dimension is present. He is also the Supreme Power, the God who motivates us to go after the truth. He is also the same truth in a lesser dimension, so to say. He is present as this troubled, misery-filled jiva, wanting to work out. When am I going to come out of this trap of time and space? So all that is simultaneously present in that singular being being the self, which is beyond even God. That's why Bhagavan says the self is beyond the Jagat, Jiva, and Ishvara also. The Ishvara has to support varying degrees of plane with varying degrees of power. But in the self, you don't need the varying degrees of power. It is beyond. The varying degrees of power cannot reveal the self. The self is self-evident. But then that has to be seen by practice, because even the motive force, which is the Akandakara Vritti, is beyond explanation. It is beyond the Likyate Katham, how to write it, how to speak it, how to express it. It is not possible. So even the power that is taking us beyond is not expressible, let alone the self. So it is better left to the practice rather than trying to explain. However well you can, you cannot, because these are in the dimensional area. The speech is in the dimensional area. The emotions, the thoughts, the intellect, these are all greater dimensions. You can understand how the physical body is so well trapped in time and space. It's born at such and such a date, every day it changes. Whereas thought can go back not only to 1962, it can go back 3000 years, it can go back 15 billion years. What is that? The Big Bang, what is it? When is it all going to end? Where is Pralaya going to come? All this the thought can go and explore. But then that too is limited exploration, because there is the seer seeing. Seen, and the self-luminous self is beyond thought. And the self is beyond even the Spurana, says Bhagavan. But in that self which is beyond Spurana, all the other dimensions are simultaneously present. You can see whatever you want to see, is what Sri Krishna says to Arjuna. Whatever you want to see, you can see in the self, because that want and the dimensions of the want and creativity is part and parcel of the self. It cannot be outside the self. So whatever you want, you can see, says Sri Krishna to Arjuna, and Bhagavan says that is only his wish. It is not a reality. The reality is only the self beyond all these dimensions. So let us sit in practice of Atma Vicharam, which is singular being, in which all these personalities are simultaneously present. You can identify with whatever you want or capable of. So let us sit in Atma Vicharam for the next 10 minutes. Ujjwalji will be able to help us out. Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang by taking the second verse selected for us, verse number 842. We find this in the segment Meditation on the Truth. The subsegment is the truth of sannyasa. The truth of sannyasa, verse 842. I'm sorry, it is under the subsegment the collective mind. The collective mind, verse 842. When you are separated from the self state, the thought that associates with you as my mind and your mind is itself the binding entanglement. When you are separated from the self state, where there is no division as self and the non-self, there is only the self. When you are separated from the self state, the thought that associates with you as my mind and your mind is itself the binding entanglement. You should know that the pure mind is only one, existing ever the same, as it is, as the Chit Shakti, the power of consciousness, that remains merged non-dually with Supreme Self, with the Supreme Self, which is extremely clear and pure being. When you are separated from the self state, the thought that associates with you as my mind and your mind is itself the binding entanglement. You should know that the pure mind is only one, existing ever the same as it is, as the Chit Shakti, the power of consciousness, that remains merged non-dually with the self, with the Supreme Self, which is the extremely clear and pure being. So the collective mind, what is that? It is shown as to where the collective mind gets impure. The moment you raise as I separately from the source and say that this is my mind and this is somebody else's mind, or this is me, that is somebody else. Bhagavan says in Ulladu Narpadu that only after the first person arises, the second and third person arise. So whenever we see another person, the normal associated thoughts could be, what is he thinking of me? Can I know him? Can we know a person? Can we know him in detail when he himself may not know? How can you know completely what he is? So Bhagavan says, whenever you feel that somebody else is there, the best course is to understand that this has come about, this divided mind, not collective mind. The divided mind has come about because I have separated myself from the source. So how to have a view of the collective mind? This is a question that Major Chadwick asks of Bhagavan. That is there not the individual mind and the collective mind? Bhagavan takes him to the point where is the mind itself? Where is something called as mind? And why do you divide as individual and collective? There is only the mind. If you take love, is there your love and another love? There is only love. When you take attention, is there your attention, another person's attention? There is only attention. But we divide it as I am attending, whereas that person is inattentive, or that person is attending so well, which I am not able to do. So the division is false, and it prevents us to see that we are all one. How to see that we are all one? Without seeing that, you cannot come to the pure self, he says. Because the Chit Shakti is so laid out that unless you see that we are all one, you cannot go to the self. You cannot go to the truth. How to see that we are all one? To go to the root error. Whenever we see that somebody else is there, what he could be thinking of me? What could other people be thinking of me? What are these 7 billion people other than me? What they want of me, what they can give to me. Now, who is asking this? There is a seer-seen relationship there. The self and non-self relationship is there. Whereas in the pure self, there is no division as self and non-self. So whenever a division as self and non-self is seen, one should immediately take it as an opportunity to do self-enquiry and go to self-attention, go to the collective mind. How to go to the collective mind? For whom is this seer-seen relationship? My mind, their mind, thought, they are so well learned. They are Vedantic experts. They are doctors. They are lawyers. They are great financial experts. Oh, they know nothing. They are all unpads. They are all good people. They are all dharmic people. Who says all this? The seer-seen relationship is there. The divided mind is there. The divided mind will prevent you from going to the truth. As we were discussing the dimensions, all the divisions of different minds have to be aggregated into the collective dimension, Chit Shakti. Then the Chit Shakti has to be quieted by not asking anything of it. The Chit Shakti by itself is not the self. What the Chit Shakti can do, it can help us remove the divisions. It can help us drop the vasanas. It can help us remove the multiplicity in minds. Whenever we think others are there, for whom is this thought? What are we holding? We are holding the collective Chit Shakti. The Chit Shakti is there, Akhandakara Vritti is there. Holding that only, we are freeing ourselves of the vasanas, the divisions. For whom is this thought? That is why Bhagavan says, Ahaminasha bhaje aham daya spurati hrutsvayam paramapurna sat. The spurana will rise, the paramapurna sat will rise and shine as I. That is the Chit Shakti. That is what we are holding, whether knowingly or unknowingly, in all sadhanas, the Chit Shakti only we hold. And when the Chit Shakti reveals itself, all the divisions vanish, all these dimensional livings vanish into that singular dimension. The power of Akhandakara Vritti, it consumes all the earlier dimensions, 1, 2, 3. Some scientists say there are 66 dimensions present, all inside us. 3-dimensional is outside. But all those dimensions are consumed in the Akhandakara Vritti or the Chit Shakti. And Bhagavan says, hold this Purana and keep quiet. Don't ask anything of it. Then this Purana will quieten down. Purana itself will not reveal the self. This Purana can help you break the Chit Jada Granthi. You hold it and break the Chit Jada Granthi, then the self reveals itself. But that is the sadhana. The Akhandakara Vritti, the Chit Shakti is Ekam. It is the collective mind. From the individual mind, one has to go to the collective mind. If you ask psychologists, they say all the supports and greater powers, good and evil, are present in the collective subconscious, they say. But Bhagavan doesn't make us take any rest in those beings. He says, cross the collective mind. How can you reach the collective mind? Not by holding on to any of those good or evil present in the subconscious, but by asking, who sees these differences? For whom is this difference? My mind and another mind. Then when that my mind gets destroyed, Aham aham taya spurati hritsoyam paramapurna sat. The chit shakti rises and shines as I. Hold it and keep quiet. Don't ask anything of it. If you ask, you become jiva. Keep quiet, then it breaks the chitjada granthi. And one is able to abide in the self effortlessly. Even the support of this Purana, one doesn't ask for in that stage. But anyway, that is in the sadhana, that we are not divided like this. The best information to share in this area is about the collective mind, is that we are all one, not to see that there are so many people participating in the satsang. For whom is the feeling that so many are participating? For whom is this thought, who am I, takes us to the collective mind, which is the pure collective mind, is the Chit Shakti. The I. Don't ask anything of that. That is the Parvati Amma. That is Lakshmi Devi. You hold it and they will take us to Vishnu, Shiva, say the Bhakti Marga. But in Jnana Marga, it is directly experienced as the power of the Akandakara, Vritti, and the silence of the self, where the Chit Jadak Granthi is broken and cut asunder. But then one has to come back to the basics and let go of each thought and inquire for whom is this thought. Be at it. Stay with the process that one has learned from the Guru. Then the stages are there. The description is there, that one feels one with everybody. The Chit Shakti rises, and that too is transcended by not asking anything of it. And the pure being, absolutely pure being, not even this Purana, not even, where is the need for shining? There is only being. That is revealed, or that stands revealed, says Bhagavan in this verse. Let us practice Atmaucharam for the next 10 minutes. Ujjwalji, you will help us out again.
Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana. May I request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks? Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhyanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripaha. Namo Ramana. The verses are beautiful because it tells us the way many of us have walked the spiritual path. If you really look at ourselves, the way we started our lives, we were human beings running behind a lot of assets. We were running behind a house, running behind money, running behind position, and running behind so many things. And finally, we were fed up of this. So we said, okay, now we want peace. So how do I get peace? So one way to get peace is let's follow some religious practices, and following those religious practices, you land up with a guru, and the guru will say, he'll say, okay, well, he'll encourage you, Venkatesh, okay, continue to do whatever you're doing, and then finally you realize guru, with his blessings, shows us a god and says, oh, this is god. So then what do we see God? Where do we see God? We keep going to the temples. We'll go to Shirdi, we'll go to Tirupati, we'll go to Ananta Padmanabha, we'll go here and there, in so many temples we'll go. And we will see Saguna Guru Bhagavan. Saguna means he will be in a form. So now what, like one Nandakumar beautifully says, if you ask somebody who goes to the temple, he says, yeah, I am my guru is also covered in that goodness, in that divinity. I am also covered in the divinity. So God is the Saguna Brahman is covered, is the sort of the superset on which all these small subsets are also part of. Oh, really? The Bhagwan, then Bhagwan comes along and says, then what happens? You come to have darshan of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan says that you are sitting there in front of him, he's sitting quietly, and then what happens? He doesn't even look at you. And you feel very disgusted and saying, is there some problem with me because of which Bhagwan is not seeing me? He's looking, glancing at somebody else, but not seeing me. So then what happens? There's Dvandva. There are two. I am sitting here, God is sitting there. But Bhagwan then one day decides to leave the body. And then from that Saguna Bhagwan, he becomes Nirguna. He is no more that. That body which was seen sitting on the couch, now has become a body sitting on the couch in a photograph. And it's no more physically sitting on the physical couch. It's gone onto a photograph. So then what happens? The Nirguna is the superset. It's part of the whole thing, and then the Saguna is a subset of that. That's what Bhagavan beautifully says. That where can I go? When he makes the statement, where can I go? What does that mean? It means that there is a higher dimension which covers the lower dimension. The Nirguna covers the Saguna. Very important thing that we need to understand. That's why a lot of people get lost because they're so used to getting God's gifts. whenever you when you get God, what do you ask Him for? You ask for God's gifts. You don't ask for God. So, but when you actually go inside, then you realize there is a nirguna. Now, what is the nature of the nirguna? They'll explain that it is omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscient. But still, you have that mind. Omnipresent present means he's to my left, he's to my right, he's to my up, down, everywhere. He must be God. But what is the nature of God? We still, there's no clarity on the nature of the God. Then Bhagavan says, he's Daksha Murti, he says, sit quietly, do self-enquiry and find out who you really are. Find the knower, find the seer, find that person who is actually doing everything. Then you go, and then Bhagavan says, Shivam is what? Is doing the Mauna dance in your heart. The beautiful thing. He's doing the Mauna dance. First of all, he's dancing, and he's doing the Mauna dance. Where? In your heart. So that Bhagavan says, Hridaya Kohara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So what is this God? So that's why all the great ones say, God is what? He's that Mauna, He's that silent. Be still and know that I'm God. So then suddenly there's absolutely the highest dimension where there is Mauna, there is this stillness, and which is the highest dimension, and which is a superset of all the other things. It's a superset of the omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient God. Is superset of the nirguna, the saguna, the God's gifts, God, Guru, and you, this little human being that you think you are. All this Mauna covers the whole thing. It's a superset. Bhagavan says, you must be there. When you are there, then you are encompass the whole, you are everything. There's nothing but you. The Mauna is everything. That stillness. So what's the nature of God? Nature of God is full consciousness, absolute stillness. So when absolute stillness, this absolute purity, there is no movement at all. So Bhagavan says that is where we all have to be. That's when you will get to the expression that Bhagavan says, there is no other. When Bhagavan says, makes a statement, there is no other, what does he really mean? He means to say that when you look at the body, there's another. You are absolutely at the lowest dimension. You are like that straight line what Nandakumar talked about. You're there. But when you go to the triangles and the cubes and go to the higher dimensions, then you realize, oh, there's a higher dimension. But it's not that when you are doing college, when you are doing PhD, that you will forget ABCD. You will remember ABCD. That means ABCD is a subset of PhD. Exactly the same thing. With the higher dimensions, that's what they say. If you want to give up lust, greed, anger, hatred, jealousy, you have to go to the higher dimension, love, compassion, goodness, sharing, and all those higher dimensions. And automatically the lower dimensions go away. Why? Because these are higher dimensions. These are able to they encompass the lower dimensions. So that's why Bhagavan is saying beautifully here that in our sadhana we have to let go. We have to let go all the lower dimensions and come to the highest dimension of Mauna, come to the highest dimension of stillness. And stillness, when you are in stillness, you are with God. When you are with God, it's beyond what we know as God, as the physical Saguna Bhagwan. It is beyond all that, and it's the only thing that is there everywhere. It is the gold which is there in all the ornaments. It's that water which is there in all the waves in the ocean. Once you understand that, you will when you do self-enquiry, you will be touching that stillness. The trick about all sadhana is to hold on to the stillness and just be. Instead of all the time doing, we have to go into being. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Thank you very much. Now, Pratna is also there. May I request Venkatesh, Vaibhavji and Pratnama to chant the Ashtotram? We will sit in ఆత్మోచ్చారం ఎలా ఉంటుంది? నమో రమణ సార్.
नमो रमण. भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तर शतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्योर्विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि. ॐ महासेन महंसेन जाताय नमः. ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः. ॐ गुरवे नमः. ॐ अखण्ड संविधाताराय नमः. ॐ महौजसे नमः. ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः. ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः. ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः. ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः. ॐ सुन्दराय तपःपदाय नमः. ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः. ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः. ॐ श्रवणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः. ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः. ॐ श्रीमद्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः. ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः. ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः. ॐ तीव्राय नमः. ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः. ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः. ॐ पितुरादेशतः शौनशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः. ॐ तपोमयाय नमः. ॐ उदासीनाय नमः. ॐ महायोगिने नमः. ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः. ॐ कुशाग्रवीये नमः. ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः. ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः. ॐ सवित्रे नमः. ॐ स्थिराय नमः. ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः. ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः. ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः. ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः. ॐ चूडिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः. ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः. ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः. ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः. ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः. ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः. ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः. ॐ पूर्णाय नमः. ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः. ॐ गम्भीराय नमः. ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः. ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः. ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः. ॐ दक्षिणास्य निधाय नमः. ॐ धीराय नमः. ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः. ॐ स्वराजे नमः. ॐ महर्षये नमः. ॐ भगवते नमः. ॐ ईड्याय नमः. ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः. ॐ विमलाय नमः. ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः. ॐ आप्ताय नमः. ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः. ॐ समदृशे नमः. ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः. ॐ सत्याय नमः. ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः. ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः. ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः. ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः. ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः. ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः. ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः. ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेश्रे नमः. ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः. ॐ गणेशमुनिवृन्देन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः. ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्नसंशयाय नमः. ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः. ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः. ॐ सौम्याय नमः. ॐ आत्मवते नमः. ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्थिनिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रिशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवश तादात्म्यभावं गतः निर्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासेकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नमः इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Thank you, Vaibhavji, Pratnama. Thank you, Venkatesh ji. Thank you, Ujjwal ji and Revati ma. Thank you to all. Namo Ramana to all.
Namo